Hello, Recapped Mystery here. Today, I'm going to explain a drama, adventure, action film, The Grey. Watch out and take care. Otway's inner voice tells him that he works for a huge oil corporation in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. He feels at home here, surrounded by ex-cons, fugitives, and dirtbags, individuals unfit for humanity. He recalls his favorite memories of his time with his wife. Unfortunately, they have split up. To safeguard the workers, he works as a wolf hunter. His inner voice is a letter he writes in which he wonders why this occurred to him. While glancing at his wedding photo, I wonder if it's bad luck or if he's a poisonous man. Otway clearly dislikes his job, and he sympathizes with the animals. He had considered killing himself before, but a wolf's howl spared him. He boards a plane, and the ticket clerk warns passengers that a storm is on its way. On the plane, he is still clutching his letter, but his moment is cut short by Todd. Todd tries to speak with Otway, but he only delivers short replies to all of his queries. He misses the message, and Otway simply orders him to shut up and leave him alone. Todd stands up and switches chairs. The plane begins to endure turbulence as Otway is sleeping. Todd advises everyone not to put their heads between their knees when the excrement hits the fan. Everyone starts berating him for even bringing up the possibility. Later, the stewardess is strolling around. The turbulence has subsided, a screen flickers, the electronics have failed, and the plane's temperature is decreasing. When the plane suddenly loses altitude, Otway cleans the window and notices that the turbine is on fire. The plane begins to plummet swiftly, and a section of it crashes. Otway is thrown out, falls into the snow, and survives. The jet crashes not distant from him. The scene is harrowing, and everything is in ruins. People are yelling for assistance. Otway assists Todd in getting up and then proceeds in search of more survivors. Some deranged individual believes that everything is a dream and that he will awaken soon. As the storm passes, it becomes evident who is still alive and how many are injured. Otway is summoned to one of the men who is heavily bleeding. He informs him that he is dying and attempts to console him in his final moments. As a coping mechanism, Brooke laughs uncontrollably. They believe there are 7 of them. Diaz points out that Todd only needed to open his mouth to believe it was his fault that they crashed. Otway takes command of the situation. It will soon be dark, and they must create a fire if they do not want to freeze to death. They should be on their way by sunrise, stating that no help will arrive and that even if it does, it could take weeks. Everyone starts gathering goods they can use and wood to burn. Otway continues to wander away from the main accident scene in search of a different location. When a wolf head appears, he runs towards a woman who is whimpering in pain. He continues to try to scare the wolf away, but he is assaulted by the rest of the pack. 2 of his campmates rush to his help and save him. Otway stands up and continues walking, realizing that wolves are bad news. His bite wounds are still bleeding. He quips that he will transform into a wolf guy. He tells everyone that the wolves are most likely passing through, but if their den is within 300 miles, they will attack. When Diaz inquires as to how he knows so much, Otway responds that he is hired to pursue these creatures. The wolves can detect when the group is injured since they can smell it. He proposes shifting the bodies away from the bodies so that they do not attract unwanted attention. Otway gets into a disagreement with Diaz over looting the deceased while transferring the bodies, and Diaz backs off. They are sitting around a campfire, joking and eating their meager provisions when they hear a wolf howl. Otway gets a torch to investigate and discovers a massive wolf, most likely the pack's leader. When the other wolves' eyes light up, they realize they're being watched. He instructs them not to move. If they start running, they will be pursued for demonstrating weakness. After the wolves retreat, they resolve to patrol in 2-hour shifts. When one of the other guys is assigned to stand guard, he grabs a torch to relieve himself. As he does so, a pair of wolves pounce on him and murder him. Otway wakes up to see fresh blood streaming and one of them vanished. Outside, he discovers a body. When the gang leaves, he expresses his concern that the wolves did not eat him, but rather murdered him, implying that they are not here for the food. He points out that they are most likely in wolf territory. Otway recommends heading for the tree line. If the wolves see them go, they may leave them alone. or they may be able to defend themselves better. Diaz claims that no one selected him as group leader. Ottaway claims that no one is forced to follow him, but everyone decides to leave. Ottaway requests that Hendrik collect all of the wallets for the deceased's family and bring them with him. Diaz is plainly irritated for wasting time on such a frivolous topic. Ottaway discovers his letter. Hendrik prays, and the six of them set off. The journey is challenging. They make little progress as the wind blows against them. Todd falls behind and is attacked by wolves. Because of the severe wind, Ottaway can hardly hear his calls for help. He is unable to assist him since his legs are sinking into the snow. He's already been bitten to death by the time he gets close to him. They continue to move. The snow is so deep that it slows them down, and it's now dark. They spot a pack of wolves charging at them from both sides and try to flee into the forest as quickly as possible. The group stumbles down a slope and attempts to start a fire to keep the wolves at bay. The wolves' roars and howls can be heard all around them. They are completely surrounded. They build a fire, and everything goes quiet. Ottaway provides some sticks for making spears for self-defense. Despite their position, Diaz tries to make fun of them all and how manufacturing spears is foolish. He basically whines all the time. Ottaway warns him that talking tough now means nothing. Everyone is terrified, but Diaz is too embarrassed to acknowledge it. He's a fool, or worse, a liar. Diaz's pent-up rage explodes, and he raises a knife to Ottaway, ready to settle things immediately. Diaz elbows Talgot as he tries to break up the fight. Ottaway kicks the fire to distract him and throws Diaz to the ground, asking him to cut it out because he's had it with him. The alpha wolf charges at that time, leading Diaz to crawl back in dread. The wolf goes away after demonstrating his dominance. Diaz is still panting and terrified. Ottaway hands him the knife. Diaz apologizes to everyone before a wolf pounces on him from behind. They kill the wolf, and Ottaway claims it's not the alpha but the omega, an outcast who was sent to test Diaz. They prepare and eat the wolf. It tastes bad, but it's food. Diaz amuses everyone by chopping off the wolf's head. When he's finished, he taunts the wolves with the head in his hand and tosses it into the bushes, eliciting a massive wolf howl that is unmistakably the roar of an alpha wolf. Diaz is beginning to wonder if this was a horrible idea. They grab some torches and head off. Brooke's condition is deteriorating, and he is having difficulty breathing, so they decide to camp for the night. The gang discusses the chances of surviving a plane crash and how it could be fate and they'll make it out alive. Diaz dismisses all of this as nonsense. They chuckle as they tell each other stories about their lives and the people they care about. Ottaway recalls his father, an Irishman who drank a lot, and a poem his father had written that hung on his father's wall. Once more into the fray. I'm about to enter the last good fight I'll ever know. On this day, live and die. On this day, live and die. That has a significant impact on everyone. They decide to bundle up because a blizzard is on its way. Brooke was never awake. Everyone is exhausted as they wait out the blizzard and dry their clothes. Ottaway discovers saw marks, indicating that the trees have been felled, implying that civilization exists elsewhere. They are on the ledge of a cliff, listening to the river. Their best option is to follow the river towards shelter, but first the four of them must descend. Ottaway offers climbing the trees with a rope or jumping from the cliff, but they cannot return. It's an easy choice between the wolves and the trees. The jumper is Hendrik. He says his prayers and then leaps. One of the knots comes undone, but Diaz catches it. As if that wasn't enough, snow falls from the edge. Diaz is hardly retracted. Hendrik is fine and manages to secure the other end to a tree. Diaz makes it safely across, but Talgot is terrified of heights and begs Ottaway to go next. When Talgot's turn comes, his glasses fall off in the middle and his leg becomes entangled in one of the knots. Talgot is thrown into a tree and falls through the branches when the rope snaps. When he gets to the bottom, he has hallucinations about his daughter, but they are wolves tearing him apart. There were just 3 left at that point. Diaz falls from the tree and injures his knee while climbing down. They keep walking along the river. Diaz struggles to keep up and tells Ottaway and Hendrik to leave him alone since he's exhausted. He hands Hendrik his wallet and refuses to move on, preferring to face his demise. Diaz bids them well and sends them on their way. Wolves tear him to shreds. A little time later, Hendrik inquires of Otway what he did in the pub the night before they had to travel home. Otway attempts to dismiss it, but Hendrik says he looked exactly like Diaz, as if he'd given up on life. He read Otway like a book, but does it really matter now? Two wolves begin hunting them through the deep snow, and Hendrik slips into the river, unable to find his footing due to the strong stream. Otway runs to his help. Hendrik drowns as his foot becomes wedged between the rocks. Despite Otway's efforts to help him, Otway crawls out of the water while carrying Hendrik's rucksack. He's damp, freezing, alone, and surrounded by predators. He snaps and yells at the Creator to perform a miracle for him. Screw faith, he argues. Earn it. When he calms down, he continues to walk, barely on his feet. He pauses and, with a crushed expression on his face, lays down everyone's wallets in a heap. He glances at their photos, their children, their loved ones. Everyone has someone at home waiting for them. He double-checks his letter one more time. He is, in fact, in the wolves' den. They went straight to their den from the start. As he is surrounded and the Alpha peers down at him, he scoffs at the irony. The wolves all back up, as if the Alpha is saying, "He's mine." He recalls the last time he saw his wife, who encouraged him not to worry. It turns out she did not abandon him, but rather died. Otway tapes miniature bottles to his right hand and a dagger to his left. He shatters the bottles, gets up, and begins reading his father's poem. The rest is up to the reader's imagination. Please subscribe to assist the channel, turn on notification and leave a like. Thank you for taking the time to watch. See you again soon.